about Playground and brightwheel, why they said about they're using Playground and brightwheel. So we say that we're a little bit of a bundle package. When you sign up to work with a financial management coach, you get access to not only a coach that can come on site to your program and work with you and support you, but you also get access to a child care management system, either brightwheel or Playground. The state has identified those two management systems, and you get access to that management system for free until June of 2027 at this point, which is a really great deal. The child care management system helps kind of support those back office type things. Um, oh, are you hearing echoey? Is it echoey on everybody's part? No, okay.
No.
Um, Okay. And so that back office kind of things that you don't really maybe love to do as a child care center director. I was a center director and some of those things, billing parents, setting all of that up, collecting those dollars, can sometimes be a little bit stressful. So if we can help automate some of those pieces by using the child care management system, hopefully that takes a little bit off your plate, and then you're able to invest in your program, in your staff, in your kids, a little bit more of why you probably took that childcare center director job in the first place. One really cool thing that has happened with the integration of the management systems and our program is the integration with the child care assistants. So if you're a center who uses or accepts child care assistance kiddos, there is an integration now to KinderTrack. So when parents sign in and out, their kiddos in and out, you're able then to automatically send that over to KinderTrack. And so no longer are you having to go into that KinderTrack website and type in their attendance times to be able to submit your payments. So that's something that these guys might talk a little bit about that has been really helpful with their time saving abilities with that. But we're not just here as coaches to help support your management system. We're also here to support your business practices. So we are here to be able to help look at dive into your budgets, look at what maybe new rates might look like. We are here to help look at what does it really truly cost to run your childcare program? What is that cost per child? So we can really get down to it. Are we able to give raises next year to our staff? That's always a question. Where are we at financially? What does that look like? Long-term planning, we can help support that as well. So that's kind of a little bit of what our coaches do. We also have a technology grant. So if you're part of our program and you're accessing your coach and using the management system, you can apply for a technology grant. It's up to $1,000 to be able to help implement your childcare management system. So thinking about a kiosk station up at the front of your program, or looking at tablets for your classroom, for that parent communication between staff and that. A new computer for your program. Maybe the desktop is pretty old and we need a new laptop. So those are some things that the technology grant can help support, helping you kind of just get ready to go with the program. We also have a business library full of resources that anyone could use. You don't have to be part of our program. I know we'll throw that in the chat, but that has some basic information about running a business and some things to think about as you're running your childcare business. So that's something to kind of look at if you're kind of just looking at a starting point with that. I'll also put in the chat just our website. There's some information there that you can kind of dig into. You can actually apply on our website, and we can talk more about that. With that, you can kind of see where our coaches are at. We're located all across the state, so we serve all 99 counties. So it doesn't matter where you're at, as long as you're a licensed program, we're able to work with you and support you on that. So we're really excited to be able to share with you the overview of our program, and then to hear really from your peers about some of the things that they have liked about our program, some of the things that they might have worked with their coaches on. And so I'm going to pass it back over to them and we'll go from there. Thanks so much for being here today.
Thanks, Rebecca. Before we get started with the questions, does anyone have any questions specifically about our role in kind of childcare management, or I mean, Childcare Collaborative of Iowa. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. We're going to start the panelists with our brightwheel providers. So we've got one provider from brightwheel who was able to join us today, and the other is covering ratio or lunch. I'm not sure, all the hats that you guys wear. So she was unable to join us, but she did send us her responses, and so Callie is going to read those as we kind of go on. So a little bit about the way this works. We do have a couple questions we're going to ask all of the providers, but we really want this to be driven by you guys. What do you guys need to know? So we'll kind of start by asking them these first couple questions, and if anything, their responses spark an additional question for you, feel free to jot that down or just come off mute, put that in the chat. I know we really want this to be your guys' opportunity to ask your questions and what you're needing to know about the management systems to hopefully join us. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Hannah, are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and get started with question number one. I would like Hannah to ask or to answer what was the first thing or a new thing that you changed from using Brightwheel?
Yeah, so we signed on with Child Care Collaborative Iowa about 3 years ago. And one of the big takeaways from joining with them was being able to sign on with Brightwheel and use that management system. We really needed it for our billing because we were using like Excel and mail merge and all those kind of things, and it just wasn't giving us what we needed. So we moved to moving all of our billing through Brightwheel, and it has been amazing. We are so thankful, and it has really cut down on our time management on that. And also, the parents really love it too. It's like one place you can go and they can see all of their invoices and get their tax statement at the end of the year. Another thing we incorporated right away was our registration with all of our programs, and that has been seamless as well. And the communication piece with our parents has really improved that staff to parent and family communication, making it seamless day to day in it with all of our students.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
Callie, would you
And
like to
then,
read Brittany's response?
yes, she said, as a brand new center, I was immediately impressed after speaking with a Brightwheel representative about the platform's features. It did not take much to convince me. The billing system is especially user-friendly. Once payments are set up, families can be automatically charged on a scheduled day. She has hers set up for the Friday before the week of care, which simplifies their process significantly. They also rely on Brightwheel as their primary communication tool between staff and families. And then the schedule feature is another valuable component as it helps with staffing decision and allows for me to estimate how many meals need to be prepared for the day. Additionally, Brightwheel integrates with Gusto, which is a very efficient payroll system that streamlines payroll processing and paperwork. I also use Brightwheel to upload our menus, making it easier for teachers to record meals in each child's profile and helps them to assist with CACFP tracking.
I just want to put a little plug in about that since she messaged or mentioned using Gusto. That is one thing that is an additional charge and is not covered from the state. So if you're looking for a payroll system, Brightwheel has great options for that through Gusto, and they can kind of walk you through that, but there are additional fees incorporated with that. So know that going in, the state does not cover those costs. Okay, the next question. Hannah, what made you hesitant to switch or start using a childcare management system?
We didn't hesitate at all. We wanted to do this prior to knowing about Child Care Collaborative Iowa. And it just kind of, we needed something and we were looking for a system that fit our center, and it just fell into place. And everyone has been amazing to work with. I know my coach has been awesome. And so we really didn't find any negatives or hesitation to joining because we knew it would be an improvement for our staff and our families. And we just knew it would be a really big jump in our communication piece that we were missing and just making their experience 100% better at our center.
Callie?
And then she said there was no hesitancy at all. It didn't take much to convince Um, and they met with Brightwheel and they were able to help them get set up and everything they needed to get started.
Perfect. Next question. What have you enjoyed most from working with your financial management coach?
I think just the relationship and someone to talk to and just bounce those ideas off of is really helpful, and to make sure that you are on the right track. I mean, they know all the things that are going on with all the centers, and yeah, what the rates are and how a budget should look. And so it was just a really good stepping stone for us to kind of throw ideas back and forth with our coach. And also the technology grant has been great. So when we signed on, we applied for the technology grant and got the $1,000, and we used that to buy iPads to use them when our parents were to check in and out with our children. And so we still have those iPads today, and they are so beneficial, and we are so thankful.
And then this provider said that the most challenging aspect for her when getting going as a new center was learning how CCA works. And through working with a coach and being able to submit CCA through Brightwheel, she was able to learn much quicker and faster than she probably would have without working with a coach or not using Brightwheel or a childcare management system. And she said working with a coach, she was able to do things multiple times until she got it right. And then there were many occasions that her coach was Crystal, made herself available on short notice through, we're always as coaches willing to um, answer phone calls, text, emails, etc. We're available at all times. And she said that that was very significant in making the process of using Brightwheel and working with the coach easier.
Okay, back to Hannah. What benefit have you seen from working with your coach and or using your childcare management system?
I would say everything is just more streamlined and efficient, and our staff are more efficient as well, especially taking attendance and moving from, when they're transitioning, they can take attendance with the iPad or the phone, because we do have a phone that has the app on there too. And I just think, yeah, communication, registration, billing, collecting is a lot easier. The reporting is wonderful. Yeah, we have loved working with our coach and also with Brightwheel.
And this provider said that she naturally tends to explore and figure things out independently, and she would have not made as much progress without the support of having a financial management coach. The coach helped bring attention to many features within Brightwheel that she wouldn't have originally discovered without guidance. One of the most recent tools she started using was the assessments feature, and that helped her with IQ4K and helped her with making sure that her staff became familiar and comfortable with it before fully implementing it into her system.
And is there anything else about Brightwheel you would like to say, or we'll open it up to the floor and see if there's any questions?
I think another thing too is they are always growing and changing based on our need as centers. And I know our coach, Crystal, my coach, if I have like something, I'm like, oh, I think it'd be really cool if Brightwheel could do this, specifically with billing. It would be nice if they had a tax form. Well, then they finally came out with a tax form at the end of the year. I think it's just really nice that Brightwheel and our coaches hear us out on the needs that we need at our centers, and they're willing to go back to the state and to Brightwheel and ask those questions for those enhancements. So I feel like they're always growing and always changing and adding new things that help us day to day.
Thanks, Hannah.
Mhm.
All right, is there any questions from the group? Things that you're wanting to know specifically about Brightwheel? Feel free to come off mute or type that in the chat. Don't be shy. Do any of our coaches, while they're thinking of their questions, have any questions or things that you would like to add in or ask Hannah to talk about?
I think I would just mention too that both management systems have a few extra add-ons. Tiffany talked about the Gusto being an additional cost. So Brightwheel specifically, as we're talking about that, does have an additional curriculum that you're able to purchase. That is something that you could do, but that is something that is not covered by the state as well. So each management system has a few of those extra add-ons. So if you're unclear or unsure about that, that's always something that we can help you kind of walk through.
I'm just going to jump in quick, and then I did see that Sarah put kind of what I was going at. But Hannah, could you talk about how you do your registration and you collect that information and how that has helped streamline everything?
Yeah, so there's two portions to Brightwheel that you can use for this, and we've used admissions and paperwork. Once the new family or child has come into our program, we use admissions first to gather all of their information that we need from them for HHS purposes and also for immunizations, because our 3-year-old preschoolers need those, but our school houses most of our other immunization paperwork. But we get that from her and we house it in our paperwork section in Brightwheel. And then we also use just our forms to register kids each year. And then I can assign a fee, and it's very seamless and simple. And we can house all of that paperwork in there. We also use it for scheduling as well. But the paperwork, any forms you need, you can create them in there and assign them to parents or send it through the chat and the messaging, and it makes it unbelievably great. And everything is housed in there. So you can take forms and then you can kind of do a PDF version and put in what they need to fill in, and then it saves in the child's profile. So it's really, really handy.
And I'll add with that, for HHS licensing requirements, you are able to use Brightwheel and Playground for your child's file. You no longer have to have print copies if you have everything saved in your Brightwheel account, with the exception of emergency contact information. Those still need to be printed and distributed in the classrooms as normal, but you are able to use those online platforms to keep your kids' files.
And we do everything online with Brightwheel, and then we print them and have them in a binder. So it's just so it's in two places. Really nice.
Did that answer your question, Susan, about immunizations? You're able to keep that paperwork all in Brightwheel. Immunization records are still being printed just to help with those audits and things each year, but did that answer your question? Okay. Any other questions for our Brightwheel? If you think of anything at any point in time. Oh, I'm sorry. Was someone going to start?
I was just going to ask for Brightwell, any feedback from families, like how families have felt utilizing it within the system. Have they been supportive? Have they been enjoying it? Kind of what are their thoughts?
Yes, they enjoy it a lot. We use the messaging. So within the messages, you can utilize announcements, newsletters, and also alerts. So when we're transitioning and we're going to be out in the playground, we'll send an alert out at saying oh, we're going to be out here right now. Pickup is going to be here. And it goes to everybody. And so you can just click the classrooms. And so you don't have to do it for every single kid. And then it goes out, and it's just made everything really transparent for the parents. And they can also go on their app and they can see their payments and invoices on the app. And they can also see the paperwork that has been assigned to them, and they get alerts. And it's also stored on the child's profile. So it really just makes everybody accountable. And I think that helps a lot, and a lot of buy-in by parents by seeing oh yeah, it wasn't sent home and at the end of the day by so-and-so staff. No, it was assigned by the director. And this is what we ask of you, and they're all about it. And once you get going, they'll catch on and they will really like it. And staff can take pictures and send it to kids, so then you don't have to have a Facebook page if you don't want that for privacy purposes. So it just is a really nice feature all around.
I know something that I had a parent or a provider tell me that their parents' feedback was in the infant classroom, when they were feeding, particularly breastfeeding babies. Moms really appreciated that when they were feeding the babies because then they could pump at the same time. So it helped keep like those schedules and track things on the same schedule at home and as at childcare. So that's something that you don't really think of as being helpful, but another just little hidden gem.
Yeah, because we're 4-year-old and up, so
Yeah,
it's
yes.
that would be a great tool for that. Yeah.
Hannah, are you guys using the CACFP tracking for
No, we use
meal?
the National School Lunch Program because we're
Right.
integrated within the
Yes.
school. But so I can't speak to that, but I'm sure someone that uses Brightwheel could answer that and get back to you. Yeah.
Any other questions? If anything, if you think of anything as our playground panelists are getting ready to begin here, that comes up, maybe they are talking about something and you want to compare and ask, feel free to type any questions again for Brightwheel, even in the chat as we go. So that being said, thank Hannah. And we will jump in and ask the same 4 questions for our playground panelists. Are you ladies ready? You guys can decide who goes first. Okay, question number 1 again was, what was one of the first things or a new thing that you changed when using Playground?
So before with our infant and toddlers, we had paper copies of reports. And so one of the things we were looking for is being able to report like through the app or online so parents could see it. So that's one thing that we really liked about it and the communication with our parents. Because before the lead teachers would have like a group chat and they would text, but now I'm in control. And so then I send all the messages out and then parents will see them all and stuff like announcements or whatever else.
Go ahead.
So one of the things that I was kind of in a unique situation when we started with Playground. We had not opened our center yet. Crystal worked really hard to get us approved to be able to do that. So we got to familiarize ourselves with the system before we even needed it. So that was really awesome. And I had worked with previous management systems in the past, but only ever as a teacher. And so the enrollment listing was huge for us because then we could do pre-enrollments before we opened, and have all that paperwork just handled already. And so that was really, really helpful. And then the billing situation was going to be more challenging for us just because we wanted to be able to accept both Nebraska and Iowa subsidies because we're right here on the border. And so having the compatibility with the Iowa Child Care Assistance Kinder Track system has been night and day, like so easy and just I mean, it's like 3 button clicking. It's mindless. Like it takes 2 seconds and I'm done. And on the back end, like reconciling all of those payments as well has become quite easy as well, to be able to accredit all of those payments. And so that has been really, really helpful for us.
Maya, we'll just keep going in that order. What was one thing that made you hesitant to switching to a childcare management system?
Nothing. So before we were using ProCare and they just started charging us like an egregious amount of money, like for no reason. And like then if we had problems, their technical support, like the one time I was on hold for over like 3 hours. I was like 75th in line. So like their technical support wasn't very helpful. And so like we were looking around and honestly, like once we saw Playground, like it would be a great fit. So we weren't hesitant at all to start a new program.
Jessica?
So I had worked with other childcare management software before, but mostly it was like parent communication. So I wanted something that was going to be really all inclusive. And so that was one of the main questions I asked the companies that we researched, and Playground was the one that seemed to be
the most inclusive at the time that we were looking, and gave the most support. I was new to CACFP as well. So that was something that I was really scared about, trying to open a center and jump into CACFP and take childcare assistance and do all of those things. So having all of those pieces all together in one space, and having it being web-based and not so many different spreadsheets and things like that that you have to be on a certain server for and have access to was just, um, it took a load off my brain. It made everything a lot simpler, and less intimidating to approach.
Perfect. Amaya, what have you enjoyed best from working with your financial management coach?
The ability to ask questions and like the guidance, she's helped us. So we're actually in the process of adding a second location to add more kids and stuff. So she's been helping with that and like getting us prepared and like helping us budget and all that, getting ready to add another 50 kids or whatever. So she's been really helpful in that.
Jessica?
So, I've really enjoyed getting to help build policy, with Crystal's insight, especially towards, our CCA contracts. She helped me most recently with our, continuity plan, with the, fact that we are very much so reliant upon childcare assistance, subsidies. We would have a really large impact, and our board asked us to do some crisis scenario planning in case there was some, pauses in funding and things like that. So, she was really helpful and insightful on that one, just kind of giving me that reassurance that like this is a strong plan and you're in the right direction and you're making the best choices for a nonprofit center that is 70% reliant upon subsidies and things like that. So that was really, really helpful. And she's always just been so flexible, and that's just been super helpful.
Okay, last question. What benefit have you seen from working with your coach and or your child care management system?
I would say the communication with parents has increased a ton. Report wise, I feel like has also helped us. We're saving money on paper and printing it and all that. Let's see what else. Just like the helping with policies too, like Jessica mentioned, like Allison's been really great about helping us implement policies. We got some parents that like to be nitpicky about stuff, and we actually just implemented like a rule about nap time because in Iowa we didn't make them wait on 45 minutes or whatever till they're 6, and we've had parents complain to us, so it's just nice for her to be like, "Okay, like you're the boss, you set these got like policies and stuff." So that's been helpful.
Sorry, my mute button didn't want to come off. So there's so many benefits. So Crystal has been really, really, helpful with her knowledge from being a former director. And so just her experience, has been great because I came from Nebraska childcare and came over to Iowa, and she was really helpful with explaining some of the differences to me, from her experiences. Also just, she helped coach me when I was building my business plan with my first children's finance, consultant as well. So she was, able to help me guide certain conversations and ask questions that really got to what I was, trying to understand, because I had never done a business plan before and that was all new to me. And so, that was really helpful. Playground has been so great with the fact that they keep updating, what they're doing, and a lot of their features, are just along with that free subscription that we currently have. There are some really cool features that you can add on, like they can, do all of your branding for you and basically white label their program to look just like all of your branding, which is awesome. It is an add-on, but again, that might be something in the future we might look into, but I know that that's really, really neat, for places who have done that. And then I'm really trying to get my, sites or my CACFP sponsor to let us, join the My Food program, which is a newer integration as well, so that we can then have all of that information in one set spot. But we're in kind of a unique situation, and so it's been really hard to find a program that we can both utilize, because my site sponsor is a emergency shelter, and so they aren't typically the ones that are the sponsor. They're usually being sponsored by other organizations, and so it just, presents a really unique challenge. And so seeing that there was that, and that's how I learned about the My Food program thing, was from Playground. So they're like bringing me resources that I don't even have to ask for. So that has been really, really helpful.
Anything else either one of you want to add about Playground or your experience working with your coach? Anything else?
With Playground, I really love that every child has their own feed, and it is very much so similar to Facebook, which a lot of the parents that we have are of the Facebook generation. So they had a level of familiarity with it. And then I really have loved being able to customize different fields in our enrollment pages and like the kids information. I can put all different types of notes in there. We do a lot of reporting for grants that we receive as a nonprofit. And so I need to be able to have an easy way to pull reports. And so I can put these custom fields in. So like income levels, I have one parent, two parent households. As we're a partnership with an emergency shelter, I can also track what students have come to me from the community and what students have come to me from the emergency shelter. And then there's a way to document when they do transition into permanent housing as well. So that's been really helpful for us for all of our grant reporting, documentation, and demographics, and just pulling all of that information.
Maya, anything else?
Nope, I think I'm like good. Like she said, it's nice because our parents are Facebook generation, and so it's nice because it's just like a feed in itself, and they can see a bunch of stuff, and it saves us from like posting signs on our doors or whatever, and they don't read them. So it's nice for that too.
Yes. Okay, I will open it up to Rebecca. Do you have a question, comment?
I don't have a question. I see that there is a question about what does meal participation tracking look like for CSCFP. I don't know. That didn't come out very good. A little bit with the My Food program that Jessica was talking about, specifically in Iowa, home sponsors who use My Food program, there is an integration with that. But for the majority of centers in Iowa, that is not necessarily available because of the Department of Education submitting through the food program through that piece of it. But you are able to use some of the reports and tracking to help build your reports as you're sending that information in. But there's not an integration at this point like the CCA integration, if that makes sense. So tracking the meals, being able to put in the events of a child eating are able to be done and tracked through both management systems, if that makes sense.
Any other questions for our playground panelists?
If you are interested in talking more one-on-one with a coach in your area, you can surely drop us a message in the chat, and or we can put our email in there so you can get back and send us an email. We're able to kind of come out and support you in kind of making that decision. I know Jess talked about Crystal working with her before her license was up and going. As a general rule, we're able to start working with centers 3 months before that open date. And that can be a little bit flexible. We know that sometimes we run into fire marshal kinds of things. But I know Sarah's on this call, and that's a good kind of point from CCR&R to kind of just point out, like, letting your consultants know at that 3 month mark is really where we're able to kind of do that piece of it. But we are able to come out and do a overview of the program, kind of really kind of show you. We have sandboxes that we have, so kind of fake accounts that we get to play in, so we can kind of show you what things look like. We have a couple of selection tools that are able to kind of help you as you're kind of making that decision. So as you can tell, both management systems do a lot of great things. So you're not wrong by choosing any or either of the options. But if you'd like us to do any follow-up, we would love to kind of come out to your area and talk with you. And there is no there is no saying that if you start with us, if you're already using ProCare or a different management system, that you automatically have to get rid of that management system. They'll work with, if you choose Playground or Brightwheel, they'll work to be able to get your information out of there and be able to pull all of that information in. So don't feel like just because you said yes to this means that I have to end that right at this moment. You have a little bit, you can have time, you can take your time as you do that. So just kind of an FYI. That's kind of nice to know that I don't have to get rid of that other piece as I'm trying this out, as I'm checking into this.
And I did stick the link in the chat again for our website. If you go onto our website, you can scroll down to about the childcare management system software section. And there's a link to book a demo with either Brightwheel or Playground. And we always encourage, providers, if you're thinking of signing up, to book a demo with each. And then you get about a 30-minute time, with someone from each of their teams to really kind of have them pull up their management system and show you in what it looks like there. And we can, like Rebecca said, you could send us an email and we can help you book those and do those things as well. But you can find those links on our website.
I have one more question for the panelists. Sometimes we hear that maybe a time commitment, feeling like the time commitment working with a coach is too much. How did you feel about that time working with your coach? And did it feel like it was too much time, or did you appreciate that time, or what was that like for you guys?
Yeah, I didn't feel like it was too much time at all. Yeah, Crystal was great to work with. We did a in-person visit first, and then we kind of moved to, visits through call or Zoom too, we could have done. So no, I think the visits are really beneficial and they're not time consuming.
Yeah, Allison, oh sorry. Allison's been like super great. She's been doing all in-person visits so far, except for like one time when her kid was sick, but I really enjoy it. She comes for like about an hour and it's just nice to sit down and discuss questions or whatever that I have and stuff like that. So
It was really nice having that time set aside to intentionally focus on these different pieces, especially when setting up my center. And then when the inevitable always happens, and that we needed to cancel something or we needed to switch something around, they were always very flexible. The time commitment didn't feel overwhelming. It just was finding the right time because, childcare is a wild beast. And so that was kind of one of those things. So, but Crystal's wildly willing to work with you with whatever schedule you might have. And she'll work with you outside of her regular hours as well. And so that's been really, really nice. And now I still, after checking in with her, because we no longer have that requirement, but we still check in regularly and she makes herself available to me just as much as she would any of her other clients, which I just appreciate a lot as well.
That's great. Yeah. We normally say about a year that we work with our programs as we kind of launched into this new program. But we're pretty flexible with what that looks like. Usually in those first 3 months, we do like to see you every like 2 weeks or so, just because if you're implementing the management system, we really want to make sure that we're supporting you, getting those billing plans set up, making sure that everything's working correctly. And then we kind of maybe move to monthly visits. But like all of that can be super flexible. I just wanted to hear what you guys were thinking about that, and appreciate that your coaches were flexible and meeting with you and being supportive. So that wasn't planned. I just off the cuff asked that. So I'm glad.
Any other questions or things that our coaches would like to talk about or ask the panelists?
I just actually had a question quick. So we recently got a new state inspector last year, like unexpectedly or whatever. And so our one before that was like super like cared about all the paperwork, stuff like that. So in Iowa now, any center can have all their paperwork online through the apps now, correct?
Yes, with the exception of you
Okay.
still need to print your emergency contact
Yep.
forms.
Okay.
Yep.
Sounds good.
And if you're hearing otherwise, you can definitely let Allison know. If anyone, has pushback at the state level, you can always just let your coach know and they can kind of help you to navigate that. Any other questions, comments?
I was just going to ask, I'm from CCR&R, as Rebecca said, but just as you said that about changing to more of everything being kind of less paper is just tips as people do that, how to support the licensing consultants as they're coming and that shift and what you guys find like, hey, here's how we do it, or here's how we set up, or here's the acts, whatever you do. I think that would just be great to continue to hear what things are working, how that's working together with those field staff that come for those visits and want those records or whatever. Because we
Definitely.
hear some people that just go, oh, I don't know how, or hey, they like it this way, or just navigating those things would be helpful.
Definitely. They are working from the state level, Sarah, on building some resource tools on how to um, generally have those access those forms, both Brightwheel and Playground. And some of those documentations will be through the lead training that is happening with Child Care Resource and Referral. And so there is some partnership with that piece of it. And HHS, Todd and Sheila and everybody's involved kind of with that piece of it. So yes, I think that there is some scariness to that change of exactly how am I kind of doing that. So takes a village and all of us to kind of work together to make sure that everybody's getting that. So for sure.
And I know one thing that I like to do with on the provider end is I like to, ask them randomly when I'm there for visits to pull up this child's this form. I like to have them practice finding those things so that way when licensing comes, they're not struggling or looking like they don't know how to find it because we all know that you get nervous sometimes when they come in and then your brain stops working. And so if they're used to kind of finding those forms on a regular basis, that's just something that we practice during our coaches sessions and finding those things fluently and knowing exactly how to pull that up when licensing needs them. And I think a lot of our coaches do the same thing. Any other questions? I want to thank you guys. Again, thank our panelists for coming and being available to answer these questions. Our website, like Rebecca has said and I've said, is in the chat. If you want to connect with us, the email to reach the supervisor team is also there, and they can help connect you with a coach. If you're wanting to move forward or have any additional questions, please reach out and we'd be happy to help. Otherwise, I will give you the last 10-15 minutes back in today if there are no other questions. All right. Well, thanks for coming.